Switzerland, alternative focus paths. Are you bored of being democratic? Are you looking for a little bit of Swiss alt history? We'll get a load of this. Alpine Confederation. This screenshot is really interesting because they've taken all of Austria. They've taken a decent chunk of northern Italy. And remember, northern Italy is where all the factories are. And also kind of southeastern areas of France. And they seem to be at war with France too. Maybe France were like, nope. Oh, this is so cool. This is so cool because this is such an unusual formable nation. So not only is this a massive Switzerland, but they're saying this is actually democratic Switzerland. Who said democracies can't have fun, right? So the first step with this is you need to centralize the government in Switzerland. It goes against everything that is Swiss. You're removing power from the cantons and moving power to a centralized government of Switzerland. Every Swiss person simultaneously gasps. So you find more and more excuses to move more towards a centralized government. With the centralized government, you now have more ahistorical control. Even though you've gone down this ahistorical path of a centralist Switzerland, you still have the option to go for the bonuses for militia and recoverable population that you would normally with a democratic historical Switzerland. Mechanics, I'm yet to have my hands on. I'm very interested to see how they're going to work. Let's have a cheeky look here. What we got? We've got hold Nazi gold. Guys, I know you've all been asking for it, and it's finally here. Profiteer from someone else's war. The Swiss way. Here's an interesting one. The extend federal police intelligence. So enemies get more resistance, you require less garrisons, and you get a +1 operative slot and 2 other choices. It's basically saying you get less resistance in stuff that you've occupied. And we also have crackdown on dissent, losing a bit of stability, gaining a massive 20% division organization, which if it's a militia, it might not be a big increase, but that 20% does seem very big. More war support, compliance growth speed +10%. Compliance growth is amazing, so not going to complain about that. And you're moving away from democracy. Gasp. Have you ever thought about conquest? Probably not the first thing that enters the mind of a Swiss person, right? Well, this allows you to conquer nearby states, make them a canton of the Swiss, and I presume you gain all the benefits that you would normally gain as Switzerland. So in this case, it's going to be a core state, an integral part of the Swiss state, country, nation. You've got the option to force one of the Austrian states to become a canton. So I believe the history behind this is this Austrian state, after World War I, did request to join Switzerland, but it was rejected. Anyone in the comments know why? Let me know. So with it, now you've got the option to go for a full Anschluss of Austria or a more democratic path. And of course, why would you not do this? Because both of them allow you to expand as Switzerland. Everyone wants to see a big boy, red Switzerland covering the map. Well, in this case, a white one, an Alpine boy. Who needs neutrality anymore, boys? Right? Now, claim mechanics are going to work differently due to the peace conference rework. But will there be any other benefits? I don't know. At the moment, claims are kind of, well, rubbish. They need to do more. Regardless, if you do your Anschluss before Germany, you get to annex the entirety of Austria. Poor Austria. What? You just annexed Austria? Oh, no, you're not done yet. How about peacefully annexing nearby states? Oh my god, this is so OP, and I absolutely love it. I love it because it's just so different. At the end of the day, it's okay to have OP things in the game, as long as they just behave a little bit differently. Who doesn't like a little bit of early conquest? And I love early conquest when you just press a button and you get the state, right? You can influence future cantons by spending some 50 of something. No, it is 50 political power, actually. I'd imagine they have the option to say no, and if they say no, you're probably going to end up at war. Unfortunately, this time, France wasn't very keen on bringing democracy to Rhone. They'll find you with no other choice to declare war on them. Oh no. This opens up the possibility of some crazy early expansion. Because remember, disjointing government as France in historical means you can annex the entirety of France as Switzerland early on. And if you can get them to declare on you early, the quicker the better, right? How do you conquer as Switzerland? You're militia, right? You're a defensive army. How am I going to be attacking? Well, there's a focus now that will convert all of your militia into regular infantry. This potentially it can be insanely OP. Potentially if you have a lot of militia and then you use this focus at the right time, surely that's going to create a lot of divisions, right? So this does suggest what I was thinking. So you can make lots of militia, train up these cheap troops because they're militia, and basically you can upgrade them without spending XP, gaining the manpower from them as well. I feel like the longer you spend making militia with this, the more potentially this will pay off for you. This seems like the most exciting path so far for Switzerland. This is an interesting focus right at the bottom here. Return to old Switzerland. What could that even mean? I presume in this path here, you're going to be abolishing the cantons. Democracy? Who needs that, right? Autocratic democracy. Oh, wow, this is interesting too. So preemptive Anschluss, that's your Austria. Demand the Alps. Demand the French Alps. Alpine Redoubt, the Alpine Empire. God, this path is so cool. Liberate Italy. That's pretty funny. Well, I'll be honest with you guys, whichever path you go for, both of them are incredibly hot. My God, this path so excites me. So here we go. This looks like almost all the political focuses. One thing I will say that I noticed immediately is it really disappoints me when we start off with an initial focus that kind of splinters off, because it kind of makes most of them kind of null and void. It'd be kind of cool if there were a lot of focuses that weren't mutually exclusive to one specific path. But with this, you get like a really big focus tree. However, most of the focus you're unable to go down anyway when you selected your main path. That is not only the alt history path for Switzerland. You have the option to take a stance to help the Allies and win their war against the fascist powers of Europe. After you complete the close democratic ties, you have 3 different ways of joining the war as an ally. So it seems to be join France, join the Allies, or secret pact with the Allies. Oh, that's so cool. So the very last second, you could backstab the Axis by pretending to not be in the Allies. The first one is to join France, which makes you Switzerland into a puppet, and later into the Second Helvetic Republic, and successor to the Napoleonic Republic. The advantage of this path is the Alpine aspirations allow you to core some Alpine states, handy for the peace conference at the end of the war. So the downside is you become a puppet of France. However, you get the ability to core land whilst at war. Then I presume when you're in the peace conference, that land's going to be significantly cheaper for you. It's kind of strange though to gain land after the main war when most of the actions already happened. Next one, join the Allies. It says its name, allows you to join the United Kingdom as an allies. It's relatively pain free of joining the war, but it doesn't offer any additional bonuses. That's cool. Give me an option. Give me cool bonuses with sacrifices, or just give me a plain old do something but without any extra fancy bells or whistles. That is so cool. The third option is a secret to join the Allies, and you gain loads of espionage bonuses. Intelligence gained from operatives and infiltrate assets, 25%. Yeah, that's okay. Strength resistance efficiency, 20%. Okay. Propaganda mission effects plus 15%. Intel network gain plus 0.1%. Interesting bonuses. They don't necessarily blow me away though. This was interesting though. Civilian industry to target country plus 10%. And then overall, you've got XP you gain from this. I guess this is working with the Allies and using British intelligence to later join the war, which is really cool at the end of the day. There needs to be a little bit more of these kind of focuses for USA, I feel like. I think USA should be intelligence blind at the very start of the game and really struggle gaining Navy, Army, and Air XP. Have like a 95% penalty. But then, when they join the Allies, UK has the ability to throw XP and intelligence at them to let them catch up really quickly. That would be really cool. And it seems kind of strange at the moment. You can train your armies, your navies with attaches, for instance, and as the USA still be completely aware of the war. It seems weird that. All of these paths have a shared industry and military branch to get you ready, ending on weapons of democracy. These are the democracy-ish paths for Switzerland. So, more alt paths. So by the looks of things here, it says closer ties with Germany. We know where this is going, right? What's this? The fascist path lets you ban communism? Oh, what a surprise. Does look like you've got 2 different fascist leaders to go for. This part of the focus tree is not really particularly turning me on. I feel like it's more interesting to see what a democracy would do that leads to the war than a fascist path, because technically fascism is in Hoi-For associated with war and conquest. So none of these come to me as a big surprise. The balance of power system still seems to be working though, even though you are going down the fascist path. So it looks like you've got a very quick path with one of the fascist leaders to join Germany, which potentially has consequences because it's going to be such an aggressive change of foreign policy. Where there's a more slower path as the other fascist leader, where you don't end up burning down your own country as a result of joining too quickly. I presume it's this one here, by abandoning neutrality. Getting some interesting bonuses, some that I've never really seen before. Army chief cost minus 200%. 200%? Which surprisingly, even though it's the fascist path, it gives some democracy. So is it this kind of path where you're trying your absolute best to not destroy the institution of Switzerland, but somehow secretly make it fascist? It looks like that even if you go for the German path, you've still got a similar option to the French path by making yourself a puppet and then asking for lands inside the puppet. It's kind of slightly disappointing that this path works almost very similar to the French path. Request Austrian occupation, Italian occupation, French occupation. You have got to seriously butter up to Mr. H. So these also let you convert your militia into professional soldiers. Allows you to eventually go down your military path, which allows allows you to get mountaineer paratroopers. You read that right, boys. Would this be an actual incentive to make mountaineers, paratroopers, special forces? I mean, if they're going to do two things, we can't really complain about that, right? Which gives Swiss paratrooper bonuses in mountains. There's also an elephant in the dev diet I'd like to address. What they just cover here is most of the time when you radically shift your nation towards different ideology, that usually results in a civil war. Not overly a surprise. A communist revolution, a fascist revolution, I guess a monarchist autocratic takeover. Surely this will lead to a civil war, right? Well, with Switzerland, it does not. And there's just some game mechanic reasons why. Mostly mountains and forests. The nation has a lot of forts, so most of the time in the civil war would be grindy, take forever, and the country is incredibly small. I think the third one is the biggest factor. Civil wars just aren't very interesting when the nation isn't very big. I'll admit, the Soviet civil war that you get is really interesting because for the most part, it usually goes on for a while, and it's usually very interesting with lots of backs and forths. One thing I will say though is there's nothing to stop them from adding a factor which gives it like an extra attack bonus, or it ignores mountains or forests as a modifier whilst at civil war. So I suppose those first two could become null and void. Kind of like the opposite of the Spanish Civil War, where you've got a penalty for attacking, you could have a bonus for attacking, but it doesn't overall make any difference the fact that Switzerland is a small boy. So apparently the dog focus, the secret dog focus, apparently has been removed. They got us hyped for a doggo, guys, and then they just swiped it from right underneath us. Says, I doubt they will make the cut, seeing as my Photoshop skills are not on par. Disgusting. Any focus on this part that I've missed? Anything crucial that I didn't read thoroughly enough? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.
You think this video was good? Well, this one is the final form. Click it.